The biggest mistake you can make as a YouTuber is getting to the upload process and not even having a thumbnail design ready. And yes, even if you're not making the viral MrBeast style videos, your thumbnails still matter. After all, thumbnails play the most important role in attracting viewers to your videos. Think about it, when somebody goes to YouTube, their eyes are instantly drawn to the thumbnail, and that's what determines whether or not they click on your video or not. Trust me, I have been on YouTube for over 2 years and I have grown my business's channel to over 20,000 subscribers. So in this video, I'm going to cover 3 mistakes that I see creators make all the time that absolutely kill the click, why your face is one of the best things to have on your thumbnail, and I'm going to cover the 4 U's of a thumbnail that ultimately sell the click. So let's get this video started. I first want to cover the 3 big mistakes, because nothing else in this video will matter if you're making these. Number 1, making things too small. Listen, it can be frustrating trying to make an engaging thumbnail and also not making it too clickbaity or misleading. But what you may forget about is that your thumbnail is going to be viewed on multiple devices and multiple sizes. And while your thumbnail is nice and big on desktop, once that gets resized to a mobile screen, that thumbnail gets quite small. And this is where a lot of creators mess up, because once that thumbnail gets so small, you can't even see what you were trying to convey. So when you're designing your thumbnail, you need to keep this in mind. If you use Photoshop, I use what's known as the Navigator tool, which gives you a small preview window that will show you a glimpse as to what it would look like on a smaller screen. Another great tool to use here is called Thumbs Up TV. It's going to give you a preview of how your thumbnail and title is going to look on all sorts of different sizes on YouTube. This way, you'll make sure you never run into this issue ever again. Mistake number 2 is not showing the benefit or action. There is a reason weight loss videos crush on YouTube. There is a clear before and after. Plus, don't forget the emotional human appeal, which is something we'll cover later on in this video. These types of before and after or action and result thumbnails are literally all over the internet on the most successful channels. It's the old phrase, show, don't tell. The reason these thumbnails work is because it makes it so easy and so fast for us to understand what the thumbnail is about that we don't have to think about what the video is, we just click. Also, what you want to do is to include niche-specific context of images to better connect with your audience and what would be relevant to them. Here's an example of what I mean. Let's take Google Ads, for example. This is the dashboard of Google Ads, something that all Google Ads users are heavily familiar with. Now, I went ahead and found a creator who covers this topic, and as we can see, he has a screenshot ripped from the dashboard. But he's making the mistake of having his images just too small. Now, look at this thumbnail I mocked up. I used the screenshots from the dashboard to convey the same result, but I simply made it bigger and easier to understand. So anybody familiar with Google Ads and who consumes that content, it's going to immediately connect with them and they're going to understand what I am showing to them. And also, this thumbnail I showed you from this creator ties in perfectly with the next mistake. Mistake number 3, too much text. Don't get me wrong, you can have text on your thumbnail, but once you get to this point, it's time to start over. Now, I've heard that adding text can help as a way to get you in the top search result because Google analyzes thumbnails and the words in them. But come on, who's going to be clicking on this? Really, this goes back to point number 2, where it should be show, not tell. Your title is going to be explaining the main idea of the video, so don't use your thumbnail to say the exact same thing. Use your thumbnail as a way to drive more curiosity for the click. A good rule of thumb here is that your thumbnail will be 4 or less words. And also, your thumbnail text should almost be like a call and response where the text points out something that maybe makes you question and you read the title to look into it more, and if it's interesting, you're going to click on it. Now, with those basics covered, let's talk about why your face can be the most crucial aspect of your thumbnail. There was a study that said 72% of popular thumbnails on YouTube feature a human face and they attract more viewers. And let me tell you, when paired together with the 4 U's that we're going to cover later on, you're going to be hypnotizing users into clicking on your videos. I can guarantee it. But here is the issue that most YouTubers make that they don't even know is affecting them. Imagine a YouTuber who made a video about their emotional journey to happiness and self-discovery, and they choose a random still frame from the video as their thumbnail to cut themselves out, which doesn't convey any emotions at all. So while yes, it does involve a face, it's missing the whole key emotion of the video. You have to understand your thumbnail is the first thing that people are looking at when browsing. And on top of that, human expressions are one of the easiest things that we can look at and analyze immediately. I mean, look at this thumbnail on the screen. How do you feel? What about this thumbnail? How do you feel now? Notice how nothing about these thumbnails changed except for my overall facial expression. So now, to make this a lot easier and use this tactic for yourself, here's what you're gonna do. Sit down for literally 1 minute and film yourself making a bunch of excited, sad, and ultimately it's gonna feel like dumb faces in the camera. And then there you go. You have a whole selection of faces and expressions that you can choose from to use for your videos to help sell the click. Now you're probably thinking not all successful thumbnails involve faces, but I guarantee you they include at least one of the 4 U's I'm gonna talk to you about. This is actually something I got from a copywriting course that talked about writing headlines, but after looking over it, it applies to thumbnails just as much. So the 4 U's are urgent, unique, useful, and ultra specific. Let's start off with urgent. Now, this is one that's not often used for most channels. In fact, you're probably only gonna see this in the financial or investment space. Graham Stephan is a great example of this with his thumbnails. Because most of his videos are being reactive to financial news, it's urgent that you watch them, because if you're too late, it may be bad for you. Essentially, urgency drives a bunch of FOMO, and the last thing we wanna do is miss out and be regretful that we did. Number 2 is unique. I'll put it to you this way. If people feel like they have seen it before, they're not gonna click. This is why those crazy ideas go viral on YouTube, because you've never even imagined this stuff before. But don't worry, the same goes for edutainment videos just like this. What you have to understand is that unique equals new. And new is good because it gives us a new hope to solve a problem that we have been dealing with. A good example of this is the 2-minute rules to beat procrastination. If this is something we have never heard before, we think it's new, it brings us some hope that this is the way we're gonna solve our procrastination. Also, this hits on the next topic of ultra specific by saying the 2-minute rule. When something is ultra specific, we tend to believe more that it's true. And essentially, if viewers believe that your solution is real, they're gonna click. Here's an example from a recent video from vidIQ. Like 177 is a really specific number, and for whatever reason, we just believe it more. Now, this is one that we don't see in the thumbnail too many times, but really it's all over the titles. For instance, take Film Boost, 71% of YouTubers make these editing mistakes. Now, even though it's not used in the thumbnail that much, it's still an important one to have up your sleeve. And then number 4 is useful. This is by far one of the most used elements of a great thumbnail. When it comes to edutainment videos like this, nobody is going to watch them if there's nothing to gain. So it's important to think, what does your audience want to know and what do they desire? And this ties into uniqueness strongly. If you can make a video that answers a desire from your audience and it's unlike something they have seen before, you're gonna be racking in the views. Just like the creator who made the 2-minute rule to beat procrastination. Now listen, I could talk about thumbnails all day and I have a ton of knowledge that I still wanna share with you. So I actually made a 12-minute video of me going through YouTube and breaking down thumbnails even deeper with some of my secret thumbnail knowledge and some psychology that I use to make my own videos. So if you wanna get that video to get a more raw outlook on how my brain looks and interprets videos to recreate for my own channel with thumbnails and titles, hit the link in the description below. And also, if you make edutainment videos, talking head videos, or business videos, and you wanna learn how you can easily grow your channel in the fastest way possible, book a consultation down below. Peace out.